I don't remember what happened first, if I smelled it first, heard it, or got that sense. All these years later, I feel like I must have gotten that sense, like something stopped me in my tracks.
Mhm.
But it felt like it was almost exactly, concurrent with smelling it. And I hit that wall of stench, and I've never smelled it since. And in my other encounters, I feel like I've been closer, perhaps a couple other
Yeah.
times and never smelled them. But this time I smelled something I'd never smelled before. And it was powerful. I've heard many people talk about it like a wall, and that's exactly what it felt like. Felt like I walked into something and I froze, and I felt like I was being watched, and I felt exactly like it was to my right, and there was woods right there, and then again that ravine that dropped down, and I don't remember how many seconds went by, but it got real silent. It was real silent. The smell was overwhelming, and I felt fear, or a lot of people use the
Mhm.
word dread. As a kid, to me, it felt like I was scared, like terrified. And
Yeah.
I grabbed the trigger on that toy gun and it started spinning and making its noise with the C batteries. And it was kind of like a, and something to my right just started snapping trees and branches. At the time I thought, oh, it must have been we have black bear. I thought, oh, it must have been a black bear. And I scared it and it fell down the hill. So even though I'm scared in this moment, I'm thinking it must have been a bear. And I walk up a few
Mhm.
steps to look down this trail, because we had a trail on the side of that ravine that we would take down to the creek, because as kids we'd go down there and then we'd walk up the creek and there was a waterfall, and we'd go play in the waterfall and put rocks in there and make the water rise up so we could swim and play around in there. But there was a pathway. It wasn't very far ahead of me, maybe 20 feet. So I make my way up to that pathway, and I get out of that smell, and I look back and down in there where all this crashing and breaking. Again, people have said the sound of a D4 cat running down the side of a hill. Well, I don't know
Mhm.
what that was at that stage of my life. It sounded like, if I were to make a comparison, like a truck was just going down that hill
Mhm.
and breaking branches. But in my kid brain, I thought it was a bear that, for whatever reason, comically was like, oh, falling down the side of this hill. I scared it with my
You're
little toy
picturing.
gun. That's what so that's why I was scared, but I went up and I wanted to see, and I looked down, and that's when that thing stepped out, and it changed my life, seeing this thing, the silhouette of this huge, huge, broad shouldered, barrel chested,
Mhm.
tiny little dome headed
Cone.
thing.
Mhm.
Again, I couldn't tell you what the facial features were. I didn't see any glowing red eyes or any orbs or anything else. It was just something stepped out into that creek and stepped across the bank, and then I could hear it going up the other bank. And as soon as I heard it, as soon as I wasn't seeing it anymore, I don't think I've ever run any faster in my whole life. My brain remembers like my big toe touching the ground over and over again, just big toe, big toe, big toe. As I
You're
sprinted
digging.
down, I was digging, and I was digging with my little Star Wars gun, and it wasn't going to save me. It had done whatever it was going to do, which was to scare what I thought was
Yeah.
scared away. But I didn't know what I'd seen, and it'd be years before I really knew what it was. But I definitely had an interest in that point from that point on, and